Hello everyone and welcome back to Bizreport. My name is Nate and today we're diving deep into the topic that is top of mind for entrepreneurs in the Lone Star State. LLC costs in Texas. How much is it really? So we're looking at a detailed breakdown for this year. And by the way, today's content was written by Eric Pham, the founder of Bizreport. So if you're thinking about starting a business, Texas is a fantastic state to form and grow a limited liability company. It offers a highly business-friendly environment with strong infrastructure, low tax requirements compared to many other states, and access to massive workforce. But before you can open your doors and start making money, there is some paperwork to handle. You have to go through several state regulatory and legal filings to become a fully operational, and each of these steps comes with a price tag. The big question is, what is the real cost? Is it just a one-time fee or are there hidden expenses down the road? In this episode, we're going to walk through a step-by-step breakdown of every single expense associated with forming a Texas LLC. We'll cover everything from the initial filing fees, which are the biggest upfront cost, to the recurring expenses that might not be on your radar yet, like registered agents and franchise taxes. And we've mapped this out clearly so that it's easy to follow. And by the end of our conversation, you'll know exactly what to budget for so you aren't hit with any surprise fees. So grab a notebook and let's get started. So the very first step of your journey actually starts before you even touch any official paperwork, and that's choosing your LLC name. When it comes to the cost here, the great news is that choosing a name costs absolutely nothing. So before you file your certificate of formation with the Texas Secretary of State, the main priority is making sure your desired name is actually available. Texas is quite strict about this. Your name must be completely distinguishable from any existing business registered in the state. On top of that, you have to follow the state's naming regulations, meaning that your business name must include a legal designator like limited liability company or an approved abbreviation such as LLC or L.L.C. with periods. You can't just call your business Bob's Burgers without attaching that legal tag to it. Now, to make sure your name is unique, just hop onto the Texas Comptroller's website and run your ideas through their taxable entity search tool. You might hear that the state offers a formal name reservation service for a $40 fee. This essentially holds the name for you for up to 120 days if you aren't ready to file your formation paperwork immediately. However, the best advice here is the simple, don't waste your money doing this. In the vast majority of cases, a name reservation is an unnecessary expense, so instead of paying that $40, it's much smarter to just double check your name using the free search tool, get your paperwork ready, and file your formation documents right away. So, to sum it up, keep that $40 in your pocket. Checking and choosing your LLC name should cost you exactly $0. Now, let's move on to an essential requirement for doing business here, which is selecting a registered agent. Before we look at the numbers, it's important to understand the rules. And according to Texas Business Operations Code, Section 5201, maintaining a registered agent is a strict regulatory requirement. This isn't optional. All Texas LLCs operating in the state must designate a person or a company to receive its official legal documents, service of process if there's a lawsuit, and important tax notices on behalf of the business. To comply with the law, this agent must have a physical street address in Texas. P.O. boxes do not count, and they must be available during normal business hours. So, what's this going to cost? Well, the price tag ranges from $0 to $199 per year depending on how it's handled. Technically, anyone can act as their own registered agent for $0 as long as they are a Texas resident with a physical address. It sounds like a great way to save money, but there is a catch. And doing this means your personal home address becomes part of the public record. Plus, it means being tied to the desk from 9 to 5 because missing a legal delivery or failing to handle compliance filings can lead to serious legal consequences. That is why many business owners choose to hire a professional registered agent service. While it typically costs around $199 per year, a third-party service handles all of the official correspondence. ensures that businesses stay compliant, and most importantly, keeps personal details completely private by putting their commercial address on the public record instead. It is one of those reoccurring LLC costs in Texas that often pay for itself in peace of mind. All right, so let's get to the big one. This is where your business officially comes to life: filing your certificate of formation. The cost here is a non-negotiable one-time fee of $300. And think of this as an entry fee for starting an LLC in Texas. This legal document lists all of your key business details, including your LLC name, your principal address, and the registered agent information we just talked about. So to get approved, you are required to submit Form 205 to the Texas Secretary of State. Now, when it comes to actually submitting this paperwork, you have two main options to choose from. First, you can file online using the state's SOS Direct or SOS Upload portals. This is usually the fastest and most convenient method for most founders, with online applications typically processing about 10 to 15 business days. Second, you can go the old school route and submit by mail or in person. You just print out your completed Form 205 and send it to the corporation's section at James East Rudder Office Building in Austin. If you choose to mail it, just be prepared to wait a bit longer. Mail submissions can take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, plus the extra time it takes for the envelopes to travel back and forth. And once your application is accepted through any of these methods, your LLC is officially recognized by the state. And if you're looking for a budget-friendly way to handle this and don't want to deal with the administrative paperwork yourself, professional formation services can be a lifesaver. A fantastic option to look into is Zen Business. They keep things incredibly transparent and actually offer a starter plan with $0 service fee, meaning you pay the base state filing fee. It is one of the most affordable and stress-free options for new business owners who want to ensure Form 205 is complete and filed correctly without having to guess their way through government portals. But regardless of whether you use the service like Zen Business or handle the paperwork entirely on your own, that $300 fee goes directly to the state of Texas. All right, next up, let's talk about making your operating agreement and how much you should budget for it. To put it simply, an operating agreement is your company's internal rulebook. So it defines exactly how your LLC is governed, how profits are distributed among owners, who gets voting rights, and how everyday decisions are made. Now, here's the interesting part. The state does not require you to file this document, and they do not need it to exist to recognize your LLC. So if the state doesn't require it, why do you still absolutely need one? The answer comes down to protection. Without this internal rulebook, you run the risk of time-consuming and potentially expensive internal disputes. If you go into business with a partner and later disagree on how to split the money or handle a crisis, not having this agreement puts your entire business in serious trouble. It is the only legal shield that keeps your personal assets safe and separate from your business liabilities. The great news is that getting one doesn't need to be expensive at all. You can keep the costs at exactly zero. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on a lawyer for a standard business setup. Instead, you can just use a reliable, ready-to-go template. And to make it easy, we've actually put a link to a free template right below in the description of the episode for you to download. The only time you should actually expect to pay for this fee is if you choose to hire a professional business attorney. And realistically, you should only do this if your business has highly complex term, multiple tiers of investors, or custom ownership structures that a standard template cannot cover. But for a standard startup, use the free template in the description, keep your budget at $0, and just make sure you don't skip this step. Moving right along, let's talk about acquiring your employment identification number, your EIN. The good news is that applying for your EIN is completely free and only needs to be done once. You do not need to pay a service to do this for you, although many will offer to do it for a fee. You can do it yourself through the IRS website. So an EIN is a federal tax ID issued by the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS. It identifies your business for tax purposes. I think of this as like the social security number, but for your company. You need an EIN to perform several legitimate business functions. For example, you generally cannot open a business bank account without one. and you certainly cannot hire employees without one, and you need it to file federal and state taxes. So there are two main methods to get your EIN, and the right one depends on your residency status. Method 1, online. This is available if you have a Social Security number, SSN, or a Taxpayer Identification Number, TIN. And this applies mainly to U.S. residents. So you fill out the form on the IRS website, and once you submit it, your EIN is issued instantly. It's very fast. Method 2, by mail or fax. And this route, mainly used by international founders who don't have an SSN or a TIN. In this case, you need to print out Form SS4 and submit it directly to the IRS. Now keep in mind that the processing time will depend heavily on how you send it. If you choose to fax the form, it usually takes about 4 business days. But if you go with the traditional mail, expect to wait around 4 weeks plus regular mailing time. It definitely takes a bit longer, but it is the correct and official process to get that EIN. Now we're entering a territory where the numbers aren't quite as set in stone. So when it comes to obtaining your professional business license and permits, there isn't one flat fee. The total cost is going to vary based on a few different factors. So here's how the landscape looks in Texas. The state does not require a general statewide business license just to operate an LLC. This is actually a huge plus compared to many other states where you have to pay a fee just to operate. However, that doesn't mean you're completely off the hook. Depending on your business activities, you will likely need either an occupational business license from the state or local business licenses from your city or county. For example, if you're operating in a highly regulated field like healthcare, engineering, environmental services, specific permits are legally required. To find out exactly what applies to your unique setup, there are a few key resources worth checking. So first, the Texas Economic Development Office offers a comprehensive Texas business license and permit guide that outlines various state-level requirements. Second, you should review the Texas Department of Licensing and Registration, or the TDLR, specifically looking at their programs licensed and regulated sections. And third, if your business impacts environmental quality in any way, you'll want to check out with the Texas Commissions of Environmental Quality for their specific occupational lists. And don't forget about the federal level either. While most Texas LLCs won't need a federal business license, you will need federal authorization if you are operating in industries like firearm, alcohol, aviation, or agriculture. Now, because every single business is unique, and since each regulatory agency operates on a completely different schedule, it is impossible to predict exactly how much you'll have to pay. The best approach is to contact the relevant agent directly to get an accurate quote for your specific situation. And as the final crucial tip here, when you do check with these agencies, make sure to ask whether your license requires a recurring renewal fee, and remember to factor that into long-term operation budget as well. Next up, let's talk about a crucial compliance setup with the state, which is completing the Texas Franchise Tax Questionnaire. Now, don't let the word tax worry your budget just yet. Submitting the questionnaire costs absolutely $0. However, it is far more than just a simple form. It is an absolute prerequisite for any other task you need to complete with the Texas Comptroller. The state requires you to complete this to officially get your new LLC registered in the Texas franchise tax system. You'll just need to provide basic details like your company's name, formation date, EIN, and your primary business activity. Once it's filled out, you can submit it to the Texas Comptroller's office by mail, by fax, or email. This is just a one-time setup to get your business in their system. Once you're in their system, there is a recurring requirement you need to keep on your radar every year: filing the Texas Franchise Tax Public Formation Report, often called PIR. In many other states, businesses have to pay a hefty annual fee just to keep their records active. Texas does things a bit differently. Instead of a traditional annual report with an expensive price tag, they require this public information report, and it's completely free to file. The main purpose here is to simply keep your business ownership and management details up to date with the Texas Comptroller of Public Announcements. This report is due by May 15th every single year. For instance, if an LLC gets approved on April 15th, 2025, that very first PIR won't be due until May 15th, 2026. You can easily complete this online using the Texas Comptroller's web file system, keeping your filing costs at $0. Now, while the report itself is completely free to file, we need to talk about the tax itself in Section 9, paying your Texas franchise tax. The cost here varies based on income. The Texas franchise tax is applied to every taxable entity formed, registered, and doing business in the state. It is considered a privilege tax. However, here is great news for most small business owners. Your LLC is only required to actually pay this tax if it earns over a certain threshold. Currently, that threshold is $2.65 million US in annual revenue. That is a no tax due threshold. If your revenue is under $2.47 million, you file the report, but you pay $0 in franchise tax. If you do earn over that amount, the tax rates apply. And the deadline for paying this, if applicable, is the same as the report, May 15th. May 15th annually. If May 15th falls on a weekend or a state holiday, the deadline automatically shifts to the next business day. Please note that this threshold is subject to change annually, and I always recommend that you check the latest state guidelines using the Texas Comptroller's official website before filing to ensure compliance. But for the vast majority of new startups, this cost will likely be $0 for quite some time. Finally, let's cover the reality of paying other taxes. Just because your LLC might comfortably clear the franchise tax threshold we just mentioned, it doesn't mean you won't encounter other tax liabilities. Beyond the franchise tax, you need to keep in mind that your business may be subjected to various other types of taxes across different jurisdictions, including federal, state, and local levels. Depending on your business activities, this could include things like sales tax, local property tax, employer payroll taxes if you plan on hiring a team. Now, because these requirements vary so much and every business setup is unique, it is highly recommended that you consult with a professional accountant to properly sort out your taxes and ensure you stay fully compliant from day one. So let's wrap this up and answer the burning questions. How much does an LLC cost in Texas? To summarize, forming your LLC in Texas costs you a one-time fee of $300 to file your certificate of formation with Texas Secretary of State. This is the base cost to officially recognize your business as a separate legal entity. How much does an LLC in Texas cost per year? Unlike many other states that charge hundreds of dollars every single year just to stay open, Texas does not require an annual state maintenance fee. However, you still must file your public information report and franchise tax report by May 15th each year. These filings cost $0 unless your business revenue exceeds $2.65 million threshold. Do you need to hire an LLC service? While hiring a professional LLC service is entirely optional, many business owners find it helpful for simplifying the initial paperwork and managing ongoing state requirements. If you have the time and feel comfortable navigating government portals, you can absolutely handle all of these filings yourself to keep your costs down. But if you prefer having peace of mind and saving time, outsourcing it to a professional service is always a viable route. Hopefully, this detailed breakdown of Texas LLC costs has given you the clarity that you need to map out your budget. If you follow these steps and leverage the free resources available, you'll be well on your way to running a successful, fully compliant business in the Lone Star State. We hope this 2026 breakdown of LLC costs in Texas has been helpful. If you follow these steps and budget accordingly, you will be on your way to operating a successful, compliant business in the Lone Star State. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the Bizreport channel for more business guides. Good luck with your Texas LLC.